Welcome to Owusu 360 Learning. In this video, our debate analyst Esther will provide a summary of the recently concluded February 2024 debate on Ghana's free senior high school policy. A link will be provided in this post to access the recorded debate.
So, I am your debate analyst. So, the impact of Ghana's free senior high, a key initiative aimed at increasing access to it, has been the subject of a robust debate. This debate centers on whether the policy is a strong at education quality or if it could create obstacles to wider advancement objectives. The complex dynamics of this policy are revealed through the examination of various views expressed during the debate, which reveal a variety of considerations that extend beyond the immediate field of. So, let's delve into it more. The names of the debaters were Paul Adams. Paul Adams stood for the motion that the impact of free senior high school has been the promoter of it, whilst Francis Nathan stood against the motion that it's a hindrance to national development. So we had our moderators on board, namely Mr. Daniel Dobre and Mr. Richard Obeng. So I am to summarize the main point efficient. So let's delve into some points each of them brought up. Okay. So with Paul Adams, who stood for the motion, his opening statements were, so he said, free senior high school represents a significant step towards leveling the field in education and fostering national development progress. Then he also said embarking on any worthwhile journey is often accompanied by challenges. Then he also said it's better to start and face challenges than to never start it. And also, every good initiative started has challenges. So, yeah, what he said is true. And then with Francis Nathan's opening statement, he was greatly against the motion that free senior high school has caused us more harm than good. So he went on saying that the system has the quality needed enough to bring up students as future leaders. So we kept on saying parents are spending more than they used to. After this initiation was brought up, the amount of money parents used to spend was lesser than nation. Francis Nathan, who was against the motion, brought him some clear points. So he brought about 5, 6, 7 points. So I'm going to mention it. Okay. So he started with poor planning, insustainability of the program. Then he said the free SHS policy lacked adequate stakeholders consultation. So he was trying to say that there wasn't enough consultation to stakeholders. So it was like only a few stakeholders knew about the free SHS policy. And then said inadequate structure. He kept hitting on the inadequate infrastructure. And then he also said it's increasing workload on teachers. So he said before teachers had few students to teach, but then after this initiation, there are overcrowding of students in the classroom, and then it's increasing the workload on the teachers. So before, if it was one teacher to one teacher to like 50 students, now it has doubled. So it's going to be like one teacher to 100, and maybe the teacher can't handle all the students. So it will be like an A and B. So it's increasing the workload on the teachers, and then delay in the supply of funds, food, toiletries and stuff. So then insufficient learning. So the points brought out was against were solid, whereas Paul Adams, who was for the motion that the free senior high school policy is a promoter of education equality. So he said he was comparing the amount of money spent before and after. So before the initiation of the free SHS. And then he also said he brought up one point he was talking about the money spent by parents or guardians. And then he also said with this era of economy, the free SHS, it's easier condemned than accepted. So he also said it bridges the gap between the rich and the poor, as in the sense that nobody's going to know who is from a rich home and then who is from a poor home. So going on, we're talking about the key arguments brought up by both parties. Okay, so Francis Nathan, he also said he talked about the ratio about student to classroom and then student to teacher. Okay, so he compared the results before and then after the implementation, and then he was still on the infrastructure, talking about poor planning, inadequate infrastructure, overcrowding of students, delay in supplying funds. Whereas Paul Adams was still hitting about how good the free SHS has been, and then he went ahead to say, so he was arguing the point on Francis Nathan. So he still talked about the fact that a lot of people has benefited from the free SHS. For him, that was his kind of solid point. So whereas Francis Nathan he brought up several disadvantages. Yeah, so that was their key point for both. And then continuing, then for Francis Nathan, he considered that the free SHS policy has caused more harm than good to the national development. So he was still on the point that the government isn't giving progressive quality, but then he's giving out quantity, because where there are infrastructure problems, there are not enough food for the kids, some sleeps on the floor. So he came out with evidences to back up his debate. Yeah. Francis Nathan he brought up some evidences to back up his debate. Okay, so there was a news on Onya talking about how some students are taught under trees, and then how students do not have beds to sleep on, neither do they have enough space. So we all concludes under the infrastructure problem. Yeah, so the debate was really a fun one. And then so what I have to say about this is with their points they came about. Yeah, so Francis Nathan came with some kind of solid points, and then Paul Adams' points weren't really that strong enough to back up Francis Nathan. Yeah, so but I will conclude that the free senior high school policy as a potential hindrance to national development rather than a promoter of educational equality. Well, if Paul Adams should have really backed up his point, yeah, he could have won over Francis Nathan. But relating or comparing both points, Paul Adams really debated well, and then with their time frame, they consumed much more time. Yeah, I think they consumed much more time.
Thank you for your time. For more learning content, please subscribe to Owusu 360 Learning channel.